Let me ask you something nobody says out loud. If God's plan is perfect, why does the world seem so broken? Most people live believing that what happens down here is God's fault. But what if I told you there's a much deeper secret, hidden long before Adam and Eve set foot on the earth? Few know, but there's a silent plot that tried to and is still trying to divert God's plan for your life. And understanding this story is the key to unlocking the true strength of your faith and the purpose of being a chosen one. Today, you're going to discover what almost no one teaches, the true origin of the battle you feel every day inside your chest. And more. I'll show you how a simple prayer can realign you with divine inspiration, restoring everything they tried to steal from you. So stay with me until the end, because I'm going to release an exclusive prophetic word that will be like a spiritual password for your journey from now on. This word isn't meant to just be heard. It needs to be declared over your life, whether in prayer or in the comments, so that the knowledge we're about to share here becomes life inside you. And of course, if this message is already touching your heart, take a moment to like the video, comment on what God is speaking to you, and share it with someone else who also needs clarity and spiritual renewal. After all, together, we are stronger in this eternal calling. Shall we begin? When you realize that God's plan was never broken, only challenged, something powerful happens inside of you. Faith awakens. Suddenly, you realize you're not living by accident. There's an invisible thread pulling you back to your essence, back to your place as a son, a chosen one. And it doesn't depend on how perfect you are. It depends on how willing you are to listen and respond. Many are busy chasing human solutions, but they forget the true victory begins with one simple act: prayer. I'm not talking about magic formulas, but about a real prayer from the inside out. Want to practice? Take 2 minutes right now, wherever you are, and say, "Lord, align my heart with your plan." There you go. You just took a giant step toward eternity. God isn't looking for superheroes. He's looking for aligned hearts. He's looking for chosen ones who say yes, even without understanding everything. That's the beauty of faith. Trusting even when you don't yet see. And believe me, sometimes it's exactly when you feel the weakest that the miracle starts to unfold. It's like the light of dawn. It seems small at first, but soon it takes over everything. You know that feeling that nobody sees you, that your prayers are just words lost in the wind. Let me tell you, every sincere prayer is gathered before God's throne like perfume. Nothing is lost. Every cry of yours is a seed planted in heaven's soil, and the most beautiful part, God Himself takes care of the harvest. If you're feeling tired of waiting, remember, the waiting is also part of God's plan to prepare you for greater things. Maybe today you look at your story and see more scars than victories. But did you know those scars can become the marks of the chosen ones? They're the proof that even wounded, you never gave up on your journey of faith. Instead of hiding your struggles, present them to God. Turn your pain into prayer. Your story carries eternal weight, even if the world doesn't see it yet. The enemy knows the power of a child of God who is aware of their calling. That's why he works to weaken your faith, distort your vision, make you doubt God's plan. But today, right here, you're being reminded of who you are. You are not a mistake, nor an accident. You are part of a chosen generation, a living voice in the midst of chaos. You are an answer, a light, divine inspiration walking on the earth. And if you're still here, it's not by chance. There's a calling being renewed over your life right at this moment. There's a prayer waiting to be made, an answer waiting to be released. Stay attentive, because at the end of this video, you're going to receive a prophetic word that will seal this new season over you. And believe me, when you declare it with faith, something moves in the spiritual realm. Before anything existed, before light kissed the darkness, even before time took its first breath, there was already God's plan. Everything was carefully designed. like an artist painting their masterpiece with eyes full of inspiration. Nothing was born out of chance. Every star, every mountain, every beat of our heart was planned as part of a great story. And believe it, you were already part of that story. Chosen as a chosen one, God, in his infinite wisdom, breathed life into the nothingness and created everything with perfection. The heavens didn't just open with a random snap. It was a prayer answered even before anyone could pray. When you admire a sunset or feel the morning breeze, it's as if God himself is whispering, "See, this is for you too." This personal touch is a trademark of God's plan that still surrounds you today. Creation is like a celestial symphony. Every note, every pause, perfectly placed. And the most beautiful thing is that our faith was part of that plan from the very beginning. It was by faith that the universe was shaped. And it's by faith that we still move within it. Want to feel this in a practical way? Today, take a walk in nature, and with each step, say a small prayer of gratitude. You'll notice every detail speaks. Many people think the beginning was just a grand, distant act. But the truth is that God's plan has always been deeply personal. When God formed the first garden, he was already thinking about your story, your journey, your tears, and your dreams. You know that feeling that life has more to offer. That's his voice inside you, calling the chosen one to remember your roots. If today you breathe, feel, live, it's because you were included in this eternal symphony. God's plan wasn't limited to Adam and Eve. It echoes even now, every time someone bows their knees in a simple prayer or a silent cry. Want a little exercise? Take 5 minutes before bed, close your eyes and just repeat, "I am part of God's plan." This will align your heart with what was dreamed for you from the very beginning. And you know what else? God's inspiration didn't stop back then. Every morning is a living reminder that creation is still happening inside you, through your choices, through your faith. It's as if the story of Genesis is being rewritten in your daily actions. When you choose to love someone who hurt you or believe in the impossible, you are, in practice, continuing what he started, but not everything remained in perfect harmony. Something happened that shook heaven and earth, something no one could have imagined, something that changed the course of all humanity, something that tried to break God's plan and shake the faith of the chosen ones. And that's what we're going to talk about now. And listen, stay with me until the end of the video, because at the closing, I'm going to share an exclusive prophetic word that could transform your walk of faith. If this message is already speaking to your heart, go ahead and like the video now, leave your comment, and share it with someone who needs to understand the depth of this topic. Let's go all the way together, because the best part is yet to come. The rupture of God's plan for humanity. Everything was so perfect, it seemed impossible for anything to go wrong, right? But the truth is, God's plan for humanity met resistance inside the human heart itself. The serpent, with its sharp tongue and venom disguised as inspiration, planted a doubt that seemed small but was devastating. It wasn't just about eating the fruit, it was about challenging God's goodness. And that was the moment the human heart drifted away from what was eternal. The rupture wasn't an accident. It was a conscious choice. By trusting their own emotions more than the faith God had placed in them, Adam and Eve broke something that seemed unbreakable. Can you imagine? So much beauty, so much love, and still freedom was used to tear down what was most precious. And you know what's crazy? We still see that choice being repeated today, every time we trade the eternal for the immediate. With that choice, it wasn't just Eden that was lost. It was the purity of the relationship with the Creator. The prayer that once flowed like a conversation between friends became filled with shame, fear, and distance. God didn't change. It was man who started running from him, trying to hide their pain. And that's why sometimes when we pray, we feel that emptiness, that doubt if he's Still listening it, but stay calm. He is. Even so, God's plan wasn't cancelled. It simply entered a new chapter, full of rescues and promises. God never gave up on calling back each chosen one who got lost along the way. Want a practical tip? Every time you feel distant, stop, take a deep breath, and say a simple prayer. Lord, bring me back to your plan. You don't need fancy words, just a sincere heart. This rupture also teaches us that the fall does not define destiny. If it did, the story would have ended right there, with fig leaves and shame. But God, full of inspiration, was already drawing the road back. When we fall, He doesn't stomp us down. He reaches out His hand. You know that feeling that there's no more way out? It's lying to you. If God didn't give up on humanity in Eden, He's not giving up on you now. As tragic as that moment was, it also marked the birth of something powerful, the promise of redemption. Even between the lines of pain, God's plan kept pulsing, waiting for the right time. That's why even today, when everything seems to fall apart, there's still room for new beginnings in His presence. With every sincere prayer, with every small act of faith, you're writing a new line in this story. But you know, the fall here on earth wasn't the only problem. Even before Adam and Eve disobeyed, something terrible was already brewing in heaven. A secret, silent movement, led by beings who had everything, but wanted more, an event that changed the entire universe and still impacts our lives today. And it's about this hidden rebellion that we're going to talk about next. Before the first tear ever touched the earth, there were already tears in heaven. There, where God's plan seemed untouchable, a shadow formed in the heart of one of the most beautiful angels. Lucifer, created with so much inspiration and glory, looked at himself and decided that being a creature wasn't enough. He wanted to be worshipped. Imagine that in the most perfect place in the universe, the first rebellion in history was born. At first, the revolt was silent, like a malicious whisper passing from ear to ear. Lucifer used his beauty and influence to sow doubt among the angels. Is God's plan really the best for us? He would insinuate, and so many fell into the trap. That's why today it's so important to guard our minds and what we listen to. A wrong thought, nurtured in silence, can destroy everything. When the rebellion finally broke out, heaven trembled. What was once harmony became war. The faith of many angels was shaken, and those who rebelled were expelled from God's presence. It's sad to think that beings created to worship became agents of destruction. Next time you feel your faith under attack, remember, it's an ancient battle, and your prayer today still echoes like a sword in the spiritual world. But even in the face of that betrayal, God wasn't caught off guard. God's plan already foresaw a response to the rebellion. The Lamb was already prepared before the foundation of the world. This teaches us something powerful. Nothing that happens in your life catches God by surprise. Neither your mistakes nor your battles. You are a chosen one, remembered and loved even before you were born. That's why you should never stop praying, even when everything seems lost. What Lucifer lost that day was something no money or power could ever buy: God's presence. When we drift away from God's plan, that's exactly what we lose too. And often we don't even realize it at first. Want to shield your heart? Set aside about 10 minutes today to make a sincere prayer, asking for spiritual discernment. An aligned heart is the best protection against the seductions that try to lead us astray. This rebellion shaped the spiritual battlefield we live in today. There are forces fighting against God's plan for our lives. But the good news is that whoever is in Christ has already overcome with Him. That's why you sometimes feel so many internal battles. Not because you're weak, but because you are a chosen one, carrying a precious destiny. The fight is intense, but the promise is even greater. And now, knowing about this invisible war, a powerful question arises. How can we live here and now in a way that honors this eternal plan? How can we resist subtle seductions, strengthen our faith, and walk as true chosen ones? Hold on tight, because what we're about to learn next will change the way you see your faith journey. Now that you understand how it all began, how the rebellion tried to break God's plan, and how you are called to walk by faith as a true chosen one, tell me, are you going to keep living as if your life were just a coincidence? Or will you finally embrace the eternal purpose God wrote for you? What choices do you need to make today to align your life with heaven? What attitudes need to be left behind? Think about it. And even more, what can you do in the next 24 hours to strengthen your faith and honor the calling over you? It could be something simple, like setting aside 10 minutes of silence for a sincere prayer, or even writing down what God has been showing you. Don't let this seed die. Apply what you received here. Your story is being written right now, and every choice you make is a signature in the book of life. Also, make sure to comment below, I am a chosen one, and I am at the center of God's plan. Let's build a chain of faith and inspiration together. Subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, because every week there's a living word to strengthen your faith and help you walk more firmly in God's presence. And before you leave, I already left the previous video here on the screen, which will dive even deeper into this journey of faith. Also, don't forget, right here on the screen is the video, When You Pray This Way, Heaven Answers Differently, This Notice You, which will teach you even more about how your prayer can move heaven in a completely different way. Click there to keep diving into this path of faith and to strengthen your spirit even more as a true chosen one. I'll be waiting for you there.